The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made against the family as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are caring for the people in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the street by employees of various corporations that are guised as counties, cities, towns, township, boroughs. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations, and as such, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income or even bring a claim against the aboriginal, indigenous people, or any people on American soil, this making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against these unalienable constitutional treaty-secured rights of the people, aboriginal, indigenous Moors of this land. If the municipal corporation has been provided, then we reference that along with the union state. If we don't have the municipal corporation where the employee works that actually did the kidnapping, then we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. This list comprises Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is a violation of the American Constitution 1791, and it is a treaty violation, being that we are talking about Moorish Americans, aboriginal, indigenous to this land, who have been kidnapped by employees of foreign corporation on American soil. This making this an international issue because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far within your immediate family or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to mhhseyeswideopen@gmail.com. In the subject line, put Kidnap Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union state that this corporation is in purview to. We start off with our sister, RVBey, kidnapped through a joint venture between Mantis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Dawood Ill under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Muslimin Ill, Kusu Ra Kush Bey under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patah Amin Ra Bey under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Paler Ill, Terry Thorne Bay, J. McCall Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yassin Khalik Alamin Ill, Michael Curry Bay, all under the purview of North Carolina, Noble Crisco Ill under the purview of New Jersey, Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Still waiting on an update regarding baby Patricia, or the baby of Patricia Bey, kidnapped by the Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Eldridge Terra Fisher Ill and Martis Sivion Ill under the purview of Indiana, Solomon Ill Bay and Mumi Abu Bay under the purview of Texas, William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia, Chere Bay under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California, Victor Eduardo Avalle Juarez Ill, kidnapped by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia, Natural Tohudi Ill, kidnapped by Benner Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Brian George Mills Bay, kidnapped by Blades Corporation under the purview of Florida, Judah Ill and Anwar Ill, kidnapped by Philadelphia Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Ramor Ill, Amada Ill, both kidnapped by Chester Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Iman Ill, kidnapped by Lynchburg Corporation under the purview of Virginia, and Khalid Albert Ill, kidnapped by Las Vegas Corporation under the purview of Nevada. Thank you very much.
All right, Islam, and welcome to MHHS Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anna Eda L., along with my co-host, Ms. Naeem Aleph L.
Peace and love, Anna E. Peace and love, Moors.
Peace and love, as well as RVBey. And she does not know she's muted.
Oh, yes. Doing your stuff. You're right. I was muted. I said, peace and love. Islam, peace and love to all.
And Cujo Adwa L. I don't know if I should say Cujo Adwa L or Cujo L. I noticed you have a new Facebook page name. I didn't even to ask you about that. I saw Cujo L. I was like, okay, which one should I use? So I'm reading both of them.
Yeah. They were playing around with one, so I deactivated that one because they were playing around with it. They were shutting it down every week or something like that.
Oh, all right.
I just made a new one. And that one's just the one I use now.
Oh, all right. Got you. All right. So, let's see. To our internet listeners, the chat room is open. Big shout out to our family listening over near Great Britain. Peace and love. I should say near the corporate construct known as Britain. If you don't know that these are corporations, when they blurt it out on the newspaper, or I should say in the newspaper, that Puerto Rico is a municipal corporation, should have set everybody straight, all right? Everybody. So peace and love to the Moors near the Great Britain Corporation. Peace and love to the Moors near the France Corporation. Thank you so much for listening. Peace and love to the family near the South Africa Corporation, Japan, the Netherlands, Islam Brother Alvestat. Let's see, Moors near the Bangladesh Corporation, near the Philippine Corporation, near the Panama Corporation, Barbados Corporation, Jamaica Corporation. Of course, we can't leave out the Puerto Rico Corporation, Cuba, Brazil, Venezuela, Mexico, and as well to Moors we have yet to connect with. Peace and love. Thank you so much for joining. Peace and love to our callers. Thank you so much for calling in every week, filling up the phone line. bringing information, joining in the discussion, building, growing, together. Because, you can't do nothing unless you study and you have the appropriate tools here, which in our case, the tools is information. So thanks to everyone who participates in that endeavor one way or another. Islam to you, and peace and love, and thank you so much for joining. And as well, the work that you are out there doing, trusting that, the work that you should be out there doing ought to be for yourself. That's it, period. Ain't no other work to be done. So today's broadcast is entitled, and believe it or not, just came up with this, because we were going to do a Freestyle Tuesday, but it's always a Freestyle Tuesday because we put a subject on the table and then we talk about it or around it or, include other topics. So I'm going to put this on the table because it goes in conjunction with some other things that are going on. So it reads, did you hear the Pope sent y'all another message? So the modern European's daddy, the Pope, came and told you Moors, you need not be afraid of the modern European, the immigrant. On the 20th of May, 2000, I put 16, but it should be 17. I'll be correcting it. On May 20th, 2017, the Pope then said Indigenous people must have final say about their land. Now, you must know he is only talking about the land as it relates to the aboriginal indigenous people, not the immigrants, as the Pope referred to the modern Europeans, even including himself. So what more do you need to be told? What more, M-O-O-R, Islam, do you need to be told? I
just want to add this in quick. For about the 1800th time, you made reference to things that we just talked about in class. So I just want to say thank you for being in tune and for confirming that we're on the right track all the time to shut up any naysayers out there who think that they shouldn't be listening to this channel. We didn't even talk, right?
We didn't even talk.
The name of the class is What More Do You Want? What more do you have to be told, or what more do we have to say, or something like that?
What?
I'm just saying.
You know what? That is some powerful stuff. Wow.
I'm just saying.
Wow, man. See, because we know you doing your thing, right? We all doing that is, see there? We in line. There it is. So we also saying that everybody should be thinking about that, right?
Right?
Yep. Yep. Now, the reason, this is, and look, I want people to, now I need to put a disclaimer before we continue. Because I know there's some excited Moors across the nation right now as you hear, the prophet, the Pope said that we're supposed to have the final say in our land. Let me put a disclaimer right here. I am not telling anybody to tomorrow go and try and claim some abode, abandoned, a building, nothing. I ain't saying that. That's not what I'm saying. If you paid attention, I said at the beginning of this broadcast, I said forward unless you study and have knowledge. All right? So this is just information. But I'm taking you somewhere other than getting gleefully happy that now you can go and claim a building. Because really, if you paid attention to what the Pope said and why you needed him to tell you this when the prophet already told you. I don't know. But, hey, we need reinforcements anywhere and any way that we can get them. So, hey, if it works, take it. Work with it. Let it do what it do. All right, so now this Pope comes out in this year, and he says, but we need to have the final say about our land. Now, if you understand that this land, it is not ours, I'm going to qualify that. It is not ours. It was given to us by the first ancestors. Everybody of the aboriginal indigenous family who has, lived on and off of this land have been either heirs or beneficiaries. Ain't nobody a grantor but the original aboriginal indigenous people who pass this down to their lineal descendants. This is inheritance, all right? So don't nobody own this as an inheritance. That's where it needs to stay. Because according to the supreme law of the land, inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. So what is the Pope really trying to tell you? It ain't that much different than what the prophet told you. The prophet said, be yourself. Well, who are you? You can't be yourself unless you know who you are, right? You cannot be yourself unless you know who you are. So who are you? Don't tell me, oh, I'm a Moor. What does that mean? Oh, I'm a national of the Moorish nation. What does that mean? See, we try to make it so complicated. We want it to sound fancy, embellish it. It's real simple. I'm a lineal descendant of my mother. That's it. Bloodline. You stay with bloodline, and can't nobody touch you. I don't care if you look wrong and you sound wrong, but if you make sure you keep it in a lineal descent line, you hit an inheritance. Inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. Right? So the Pope, he said that we've got to have the final say regarding our what? Inheritance. He's calling it land. It's inheritance. Guess what? He's absolutely correct. Our inheritance. Can nobody talk about it but us? And since it can't be for sale, there ain't ever a lawful discussion about selling inheritance, because that is something that cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. Now, when you go and you look in some of the congressional records, you see where they talk about, oh, well, we bought Arizona from Cherokee. You have to say, I don't even know if the Cherokee Indians own this portion of the land that is now called Arizona. I'm just using it I'm just making stuff up. But they will say, oh, well, we bought Arizona land from the Cherokee Indians. Really, because it is inherited, cannot be bought or transferred. The only thing that they bought was the use. And if you do the history and you put that in conjunction with the George Washington letter, this is why the modern Europeans were required to pay us a certain mark at certain intervals of time, because they have been granted through treaty the privilege of using, never owning. That's what this whole declaring your nationality is all about, because what you're doing is you're making a public notice, signing no contract. You're making a public notice that, yes, I am a lineal descendant of the aboriginal indigenous people of this landmass called America, which is really Morocco. And yes, I am one of those people who was branded Negro, colored, black, for whatever reason. And I'm going back to the state of mind of my ancestors. Yes, I am a Moor. I was a Moor before I knew, but I know now for sure, and I am a Moor. It's in my blood. It ain't got nothing to do with who I may be associated with. It ain't got nothing to do with what part of the land mass I live on. It ain't got nothing to do with what temple, church, or mosque I am affiliated with. It ain't got nothing to do with what religious philosophy you choose to participate in. It's about your blood. Can't nobody give it to you. Can't nobody take it away. It's about your blood. All right? So there's a deeper message being relayed here. Every message that most of us are receiving, and every single message that we have received from Prophet Noble Jew Ali was a deeper message. But if you ain't prepared to receive that deeper message, it will meet you wherever you are. But if it is not founded on the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, it is going to crumble away or drop out underneath your feet. Trust and believe. So you've got to make sure that this is, whatever you're doing, it's about law, it's about bloodline, lineal descent bloodline, and it's about the right intent. This is not a commercial process. So if you are trying to attach a commercial process to just sanguine, which is nationality based on blood, you have just let whoever might be trying to accost you that is within earshot know you're right for the flow. And they will pluck you right off the street, throw you in one of their prisons every single time. And you will be flabbergasted as to, oh, my God, why does this keep happening to you? Happening to you because the universe is trying to tell you something that you just don't want to listen. Pay attention, because as chapter 1 of the Quran said, and we seem to always forget, man is blind. Don't nothing happen to you by accident. Everything is a creation of the mind. And that creation is going to manifest and visit you regularly like clockwork. Can't escape it unless you gain control of your mind and you create something that you want instead of something that you don't want. All of this, all of these messages, all of these clues, everything the prophet has written, all of these things was written for one purpose, and that is to get you back on track. That's it. It's not even complicated. It's real simple. We as people who don't want to let go of the modern European mindset, we make it difficult. But it really is simple. If you could, look, it doesn't matter if you love your mother or if you got issues with your mama. It don't matter. You are a lineal descendant of her. Can't nobody take that away. Nobody. All right?
No man can change it. This nature.
Right? It's all about the bloodline. If you can learn, if you can just get one thing, well, there's many things I would like you to get, but this, you've got to get this down into your cranium. Nobody can second guess you. Nobody can question you. As long as you keep this based on bloodline, lineal descent line. It ain't the proclamation. Did somebody say something?
No, that was me, and I apologize.
Oh, all right. The proclamation and name correction, it is a powerful notice. It's saying, hey, I'm a lineal descendant. It's powerful. Powerful. Look, it's so powerful. People coming after you trying to tell you, tear it up, throw it away, burn it. Hey, write a affidavit negating everything that's said in that damn document because it's a contract. Read that document. Read it. And you will see, if you read it, see you to the bloodline of a lineal descendant family that is the aboriginal indigenous people of this land mass that is a maximum. It is letting everyone know that you are either an heir or a beneficiary of an heir, and can nobody come and tell you you got to leave, or you can't come here, or you got to pay taxes, or you got to be a part of our Christian Crusade organization, because that Christian Crusade organization is a corporation, and you are not any type of an entity of a corporation. You are lineal descendants of the aboriginal indigenous people of this land, which makes this statement that the Pope said, talking about y'all. And if you don't keep it based on bloodline, not apply to you. If you want to stay caught up in commerce and you think it's a commercial activity, that statement that the Pope made does not apply to you. If you want to throw away your paperwork and say that you're an Indian, well, the president done said he's going to round y'all up and send you back to India. So clearly, the statement the Pope made does not apply to you. Everybody is trying to trick you. But you shouldn't be surprised at that. Didn't the prophet say that you were going to have people come in and say, be careful, some of your own. Some of them wearing turbans and feathers, trying to put you right back in slavery. He told you this was going to happen. And look at what's happening. It's like everybody and their mama, well, let me rephrase that, everybody is crawling out from under a rock trying to get those Moors, especially you new Moors, to write an affidavit of some sort. Some of you don't even realize you're writing an affidavit, where you are negating the fact that your land correction and proclamation declares to the world, I am a lineal descendant of the aboriginal indigenous people of this land mass they call North America, South America, Central America, and the Atlantis Islands. And by the way, y'all do know that that includes Canaan land. All right, Canada is a corporation. That landmass is a part of the Americas. This is deep. This ain't no joke. That's why it shouldn't surprise anyone when you get people that try to take you off your square. The prophet told you they was going to come. Look what the Pope done put out there. Because it wasn't too long ago that we read or we received a letter from another Pope saying that, yeah, we know we the land. Yeah, stage of the game. It's not reversible. Right? Wasn't it a letter not too long ago we got? Now, May 20th, the Pope says, y'all got to have the last say in the concerns of your land. Y'all Aboriginal, lineal descent Aboriginal of the land. So, understand, overstand, understand, and comprehend. This is very deep. Everybody is coming along trying to trip you up, including some of your own wearing turbans and feathers. So how do you protect yourself? You study. You study before they show up, and you especially study whatever they give you. Don't go on anybody's word, not even mine. Bloodline, lineal descent, serious business. If it wasn't, everybody wouldn't be trying to get you to say you a Negro, colored, black, African American, Indian, All right? If it wasn't serious, they wouldn't be going crazy every time you show up and say, well, I'm a Moor. And then you'll descend. That's why they question you. Oh, you a Moor, huh? But you show up and you say, well, no, I'm not that straw man. What does that mean? It ain't about what the straw man is. It's about what you are. What are you? I'm a lineal descendant of my mother. And it don't matter if she's a declared Moor or not. Because she is a Moor, whether she has declared it or not. You go back to the bloodline, go all the way back, they was here. They the oldest people. It says it. United Nations done said it. Everybody has said it. It's documented. It's a matter of public record. So when you go back and you tie yourself to the lineal descent line, can't nobody touch you. That's why you got people coming out the woodwork trying to push you off your square, tricking you, having you create affidavits negating the fact that you are a lineal descendant, that you're not a lineal descendant, but that you're an Indian.
A what?
Why?
A what?
Because you got people who are coming out of the woodwork tricking you to fill out affidavits. Many of them you don't even know you're filling out an affidavit that's negating the fact that you are a lineal descent. Instead, they got you saying that you're an Indian, which
right.
You might as well just say Negro, color, black.
That's right. Well, didn't the posting say Indigenous? It said Indigenous, right? Now check it out.
Yes, he did. He said
it didn't say Indian,
but that's right. He said Indigenous, but now you got to go back. Go back when he said, hey, y'all don't need to be afraid of these immigrants.
Yes,
all right?
He did.
So now he told you who the immigrants were. So now he done told you, he qualified who the immigrants are. Now he's talking about the indigenous people that have the final say. You already know he ain't talking about modern Europeans. And look, y'all really need to look at this, right? I don't know if you've ever been to a reservation, but I've been to a reservation. Many of these reservations is full of modern Europeans claiming to be Indians. I bet they gonna all be Irish this year. After Trump said he's gonna round up all the Indians and send them back to India, I bet you all the modern Europeans that's sitting on the Indian reservation talking about I'm Indian, taking advantage of all of the benefits that's reserved for the Aboriginal Indigenous. They all gonna be Irish this year.
Because it's nationality time. Nationality is on the table. But now let's make another distinction too, because if you're Aboriginal, of course you're Indigenous. But be careful, because what you just described is people saying they're Indigenous, but that doesn't mean they're Aboriginal. But if you are Aboriginal, You're definitely Indigenous. And so when you look at the definition of the more American actually, it says Aboriginal people found on the continent. It does not say Indigenous, because it's already clear if you're Aboriginal, you are Indigenous. So they pull that out to try to say, well, I'm Indigenous, and they have their behind sitting on, so-called Indian reservations, which is a brand, which is for which what you're saying is they're pretending like they, that this is their stuff, right? But like you said, they're going to pull that out, and also they're going to start calling themselves Irish, right? Instead of just that 1 year or that one day at March 17th when they celebrate it. And the other thing is not only in the definition of American does it say Aboriginal copper complexioned people, various copper complexion. That means of all shades. It also at Ellis Island when we went, it says Aboriginal people. It does not say Indians. It never has said that, because we are not, and the people that are found here are not Indians, never were Indians. That's a brand, Indigenous, but not Indians. And
that's right.
and that leads to people being confused now, because now what's coming is that since so many, as you have mentioned, so many people have put affidavits saying they're Indian, right, and some of them have negated, like you said, that they're lineal descendants, because they're going to be, people want to be everything except for what they really are, and that's why the prophet said, I'm going to teach you to just be yourself. But now they're getting confused about the image because of what you just said. They're being confused about the image of what has been put before you as to what a quote-unquote so-called Indian looks like. They're thinking, well, I don't see myself as being an Indian or Aboriginal or Indigenous as the image they think it is, which is of the Indian, with the 2 braids and, and that dress. But look at the picture that they put with the Pope. The sister that is there is of various copper tone complexion, as well as the one behind her in the background. They're purposely telling you that the Aboriginal and Indigenous people are of copper complexion. They did not put a picture with the Pope there with a modern European calling them Indigenous.
That's right.
So what we're saying is that we're of various shades and hair and all of that, but because of the miseducation and the image that has been put before them, they're saying, well, we can't be the Aboriginal people. We don't look like quote-unquote Indians. You see what I'm saying? All about that has been impressed in your mind, the miseducation of it all. But it's all right there, man. That is just impacting that photo, because it's not modern Europeans. That's not who's in front of him that he's calling Indigenous, who has the last say so. Right. Yeah. I just wanted to make another comment. You said,
well,
go ahead.
I yield the floor, so I'm good. I yield the floor.
Well, wait, before you do, you made a comment about it's not a commercial process. So we're going to ask one question. Oh, and also, as far as explaining that about the Aboriginal and the image and stuff, we're going to be at the House of Ram this Friday, and that we'll show you photos of which some of you have already seen, of the Aboriginal people and what you might think looks like what you call Indian, and they're not the image of what you think an Indian is, a branded Indian is, or really a branded Aboriginal is. You had made a comment earlier about this is not a commercial process. So there's only one question we want to ask, because you and I talked about it. Think it's commercial? Think you're doing commerce? What is your product? Now, we're saying that to the people who are Moors, who are mixing their birthrights into these commercial processes. If you, in fact, think that you're going to do that because these people are doing commerce, then what is your product? If that's what you're doing. And what is their product? Because you already know they don't have a product. That's the million-dollar question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That is a good question. People need to contemplate that.
Yeah, and what they don't realize is that the product is them.
Yes. Because they keep confessing it. Right?
Well, really, in order for you to be able to substantiate the human trafficking, right, you have to, they have to produce the verifiable documentation to substantiate human trafficking. Once you show up with it, you just shot yourself in the foot.
You mean when we show up with their birth certificate stuff?
With the birth certificate, yeah, because everybody shows up. They show up with the birth certificate to and now if you show up with it, then how can you say that they're using to substantiate human trafficking? You brought it. That's like in the mortgage fraud, you ask them to produce the mortgage and the note, and then you show up with the mortgage and the note.
Hello. Yes. Right. I got you.
I mean,
the
whole point of it is that the mortgage in the note, the original, it was sold, and they don't have it. Well, now you showed up with it. You can't show up with the evidence because now, when you're talking about evidence, the law of evidence, right? Did you get that from them? The people who, because a lot of times, it's some employee of a municipal corporation is trying to put in a claim against you. Now you're saying, well, how? And they do assume jurisdiction, but as we all know, jurisdiction has to be proven for the record. So now you asking them to produce the verifiable documentation that they have jurisdiction. But then you show up with a document that you're alleging to be the verifiable documentation of the jurisdiction that they have been presuming to have over you. That's convoluted. That's convoluted. Why would you do that?
So you're saying that if you ask them to show up with the verified, substantiated evidence, right? And if they were to show up with the birth certificate, bam, you got them for trafficking.
Exactly, which is exactly why they don't show up with the birth certificate, which is exactly why, if you can't substantiate how to that jurisdiction, then we don't have nothing more to discuss. But whatever they show up with is whatever they give you is verifiable documentation of human trafficking. But you cannot compel people to do anything. And if you are, that is human trafficking. And then when they start talking about, okay, well, in order to use, every time they allege to have jurisdiction over you, there is some sort of a demand for income attached to it. So the fact that they are demanding income, like 100% of the time that they make a demand for income, it's about an unalienable right. An unalienable right. That means that they put a lien in a certain income amount on a liberty that is unalienable. That's unconstitutional. I was traveling the other day, and this municipal employee drove by me in their cruiser, in their municipal automobile with the right, and the thought came to me: how is it that your job, you're getting a paycheck from preventing me getting to my job? Something is very wrong with that. How is that possible? And I'm not. I'm going to aid a relative. How is it that you're getting a paycheck from preventing me from traveling to aid a relative, a family member? How is that lawful? I mean, these are things we need to be thinking about. I think sometimes overthink a situation. We need to keep it simple. I need to get from A to B, and you're hindering me. How do you have the ability to do that? Tell me, please. Explain it to me, and then if you can explain it to me, I need some documentation. Because I'm unaware. I'm unaware of it. Now, if you're unaware of something, because really many of us are unaware. We really are. Then that means that there's some private stuff going on that somebody is using against you. That's unconstitutional. That's a setup. That's like if I go three paces to the right, I'm liable to fall into a ditch. But you didn't tell me that if I go 3 paces to the right, that you're going to kidnap me for going 3 paces to the right and falling into the. I mean, it's crazy. The things that people are being kidnapped for is absolutely crazy. And the reason I believe that it happened is because we have not, for the very long time, we have not been asking the right questions. We have been making a lot of assumptions, and we've been coming to the table literally with the evidence. Like, and I said for years, I said, look, if you're asking somebody for a delegation of authority, you write them a letter. We call it an agreement of jurisdiction or warrant them. You put a stamp on that baby and you send it to them. And you tell them that you want it in X amount of days. If you don't get it, the law says that they don't have it. That's what the law says. So there's no way that I am going to go visiting X, Y, Z, and everybody else and their family that they sending you to, trying to get what I could have, put a stamp on and just put in May. If you don't produce it, you ain't got it. Much like if you go to a restaurant and if you don't see that sign in the window that says that they've been approved by the corporation to run their establishment, if that little card is not visible somewhere, their doors are not open. The oath or the agreement of jurisdiction is the same. And you're never gonna, I'm just telling you right now, you're never gonna get it because there's already case law that says municipal corporations are incompetent with judicial authority. So you're never gonna have a delegation of authority because they're not court. So I got off track. So I'm going to yield the floor and let someone else speak.
I'm yielded for right now.
Well, all right.
Islam. Likewise, I yield the floor right now too. Pardon me, y'all. 1 second.
Did you say hold on, Miss?
Yes, I said I yield the floor for right now. Yeah.
Oh.
Hold on.
Oh, all right.
Oh, well, then you know what? Well, this is interesting. But you really, you said you got off track, but you really didn't get off track because the whole issue is about jurisdiction. The whole issue is about jurisdiction, what we say, personal, subject matter, territorial. That's what it's really all about. So we know what their intent is based on, what they're doing. Like a lot of people, they'll say, well, they're doing this. Like they keep bringing up the problem when we're giving the solution. You know what I'm saying? And they keep saying, well, they do this, well, they do that. These policy enforcers that work for these corporations that they're discussing is really private security guards. They're gangs. They have the nerve to be gangs, real gangs, and they're even in a fraternity called the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police. That's what we call FOP. That's their fraternity. So they're gangs for real and act like family, right? And when you get to identify who is who and what is what, but they've been doing this for so long, they're not used to, us having any knowing any laws, sharing that now, because they found out that so many Moors, as we came to rise to the consciousness, who have studied, I'll just say half studied, or didn't study, or just didn't read what it was, you know what I'm saying? They realized, wait a minute, and you said this before, Sister Ada, They just said, oh, shoot, we really don't have to stop what we're doing because they don't really know, and they don't know what to do. They're not fooling us. You know, they're dancing toe-to-toe with us in the municipality. It's a corporation looking for us to do the right thing when apparently they haven't realized that we don't intend to do the right thing. We've been taking advantage. Living off your virtues and your ignorance at the same time, which is an amazing thing to do for a long time, because this is how we feed ourselves. It's as simple as I said. It is really what it is. And then they pretend that it's all in the eyes. They have them coming to the classrooms of your children. If there's ever a problem, just pick up the phone and call us, you know. And this is what they have been, and they say they're law enforcement when they do that, but they're not. All right? So they are grown, generations have been grown to believe, and this is why the prophet said, I'm supposed to take you out of this mental slavery, you know, this falsehood, this fiction, you know what I mean? This is who you really are. So a lot of people will make their proclamations, as you said, they'll make their judicial rulings and proclamations, name corrections, even get cards, and then turn around and write it out state and take the spirit out of what they just proclaimed they were. If you don't know what you just did, you know what I'm saying, then you are not doing it yet until you study to find out what it is you just did, because that shows an instability, and it, I think what's the word you used earlier, it makes you ripe for the picking for them. Now, people say, and we've heard people say, well, this is really the law. Use an example of how mentally enslaved we've been. If this is really the law, then shoot, they should be doing the right thing. But they're not the law. When are we going to get that? They say they are, and what they're enforcing a policy. So then you have to go into the study of what a policy is as opposed to a law. Or you can just simply read the Constitution, because the Constitution in our state tells you. If any of these bigger than the states make any laws, policy, or what they call law, policies, or something is right in there, right? Violation, and it abrogates, which means violate, goes against as opposed to, it means all of that. What is already written in this, guess what? It has no standing. Has no standing in law. So now we had already had that information, and which means we knew what the law was. We would have been able to recognize the moment something went down that wasn't law. And so granted, that didn't happen, but now we know. So when you know better, you do better. You mentioned earlier about, look, I was a Moor before, I'm a Moor now. Now, the terminology that goes with that is nunc pro tunc, meaning now for then. Use it, because no one can change your descent. That's what time it is. The time now is the nation. These people can't say, they're not talking nation. They're talking quasi-national domiciles and states and stuff and what they want to do. And that's being shot down. Now, I don't really want to get into this, but there's been so many, as you had mentioned, things that people sign affidavits, status corrections and shit. If someone has told you a status correction package and you didn't even look up what status meant before you signed it or before you agreed to it, whose fault is that really? Who do you think started that? It doesn't make it right. But it doesn't make it right. It's always wrong, because that's their action. But your action and responsibility was to at least know what you're doing, and at least a minimum, if the status, look up status, then you would have found out wait, this has to do with their sex. This has to do with which means nationality. This has to do with obligations, interest, title, standing, all of this. It's what it has to do with. So is anything in this document that has something to do with that? Does it mention anything? How are you going to have a status correction and you didn't really change the status, because the status means standing. That's what it means, which is your relationship to the community, not a mere one but a legal one. So we say that all things are coming to the top, to fruition, for recognition, for us to see what's going on. And we have to, especially if you signed the judicial notice of proclamation, and if you didn't read what it says, and then you allow some change it out, to have you sign something else that took you out of it, then, like, in some ways, people, whose responsibility is that? Who, if you can feel something, empathy, compassion, and everything, but the answer to that problem has already been given, and it's called what? Study. And we should have done. We ought to have to do exactly what that meant. So now, I think we have gone to a different level, elevating. And there's more clear on what it is, what it's not, and it's now really just with this going away. You need. I'm sorry, what did you say? Did you have a comment?
Break it up.
You sound muffled.
Cracky and.
Well, let me give a moment with the plug in. Everybody's here.
Did she drop?
Are we still good? You're still there?
No, we're good.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
good.
still there.
Yeah, we're good. Her phone. She's just looking for something to use other than the speaker portion on the phone because that's not working. So, yeah, that's probably,
True. Yeah.
Yeah, those little devices, man, they give out so quickly.
Well, we mentioned who is truly the judge. It's the universe that's truly the judge of people and what they do. Who is really the judge of what we do? It's the universe. The universal law that is truly the judge.
Yeah. Who is really the judge? Is it somebody or is it the universe? I think that's what she's saying. Because a lot of times we get so upset when we hear what somebody else's activity, and we want them to be accountable for what they have done. And so I think what happens is that people think, well, if we explain to them, we sit down and have a conversation, they will comprehend how that whatever action, they engaged in, it wasn't beneficial to the family. But here's the thing. The problem, the challenge with that is who gets to decide when somebody's action is appropriate or inappropriate. Now, I know, granted, there are some actions that's obviously inappropriate, but the universe is so perfect. And one of the things that we need to comprehend is that whenever somebody throws something out into the universe, it is going to come back to that individual. All right? If it's good, that means good is going to come back. If it's not so good, then that means not so good is going to come back. But because we want immediate results, and thank all the powers of the universe that results don't come immediately because we've done some ridiculous things in our lifetime that if the result had been immediate, we'd all probably be dead. So thank all the powers in the universe that, you're given time to reflect and turn around, and that time, since we all have everlasting life in this earth plane, just a lesser place, then, until you pass on, you have all that time to rectify whatever it is you put out there that wasn't so good. And we have to allow people that free will to correct themselves. And because a lot of times we get in the way of the boomerang as it is coming back. And instead of the boomerang clipping and taking the person who threw it out, it clips the person who got in the way of the boomerang. That's absolutely divine. We are understanding if we say we Moors, we got to comprehend the Moorish science. Moorish science says every action there is an equal reaction. That's universal law. So we don't ever have to take it into our hands to judge somebody else. What we need to do is just pay attention to ourselves. Because, and that doesn't mean that we're supposed to stand back and let somebody physically injure another being. That's not what I'm saying. But, judge, what is it? Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Because, and judge not, least to be judged. All of us got stuff we would love to erase from our past when we didn't have, as much knowledge as we do today. So we need to allow the universe to do what it does so well and just to reflect on ourselves and our lives and just keep it moving that way. I think that's what she wanted to say. But on another note, I just want to say something, and it's about, because I had a conversation with a brother, and he was hanging on to his name correction and proclamation because we put on the website that, it's the obligation of people to find Moors to witness their documents. And the reason we said that was because we were, for some reason, somebody interpreted the instruction to say only we, only Brian myself and Miss Rain, we're the only ones who witnessed that. No one else did. So we had people who had more than one person in their area. They were not photographing each other's documents. They were sending it to us for us to be the sole witnesses. And we were so inundated that it was just so I can't even say how inundated the whole simple process became. And when we realized from another call, we were told, we thought only you guys can autograph as a witness. And so that's when we put out on the website that you're obligated, it is your obligation to find your witnesses. Now, we do comprehend that, some people might be in a remote area or they may not know another declared Moor. And that's understandable. So we said, we can work things out with people in that situation. But I had a conversation last week with a brother, and he said, he was really, having a challenge because he said, I ain't got no more than my area who has nationalized. And I was like, well, what do you mean? what do you mean? And he said, yeah, I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, you know, if you're not in this area, no. He said, he doesn't know any Moors who have nationalized. I didn't know. I didn't understand what he was saying. I was like, what do you mean nationalized? And I learned from our conversation that there's a new presumption that if you have not physically proclaimed your nationality, there are people who are thinking you can't sign as a witness. When the prophet says, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. Let's throw this word nationalize away. And let's please let me rephrase. I personally, declaring, and there is proclaiming. Declaring is to be clear. What do you clear? What does that mean? The prophet said if you don't do nothing else, declare your nationality. He's saying if you don't do nothing else, be clear about your nationality. Be clear about what it is. Be clear about your lineal descent line. Now, that shouldn't be difficult since everybody came from a woman. You ought to be clear that your lineal descent line is your mother. You clear on that. All right? Now, your mother, if she is of Asiatic descent, you are a Moor for that reason and that reason only. It is the bloodline. So he's saying be clear about your bloodline. Your mother Asiatic? Check. You a lineal descent? Check. Okay. How about now? I don't understand.
No, that's because the brother Kashan texted me. He said he's they can't hear nothing on the internet connection. Like he group texted.
Oh.
And he said he can't hear anything. And I'm like,
it's
I'm
their
hearing.
Connection.
Yeah.
It's probably their connection. It's because sometimes your internet can get your internet feed can get refresh your browser. Refresh your browser or call in because we got a few lines open. Call in. All right, so let me just wrap this up. So the prophet said if you don't do nothing to clear your nationality, that's a very, and you know what? That goes right, it goes hand in hand with study. Because he's saying you need to study yourself, you need to study that lineal descent line from which you descend. You need to study words like descent or descendant or lineal. You need to study words like just sanguine, right? You need to comprehend. You need to know this. This ain't no guess. You got to know it. That is all that is required for you to be a witness. Declare your nationality. It begins and ends in your mind. Once you're clear on that, then, when you're ready, you can then write it out and proclaim it. But you have to first be clear. You have to first be clear. You have to know exactly. This ain't no guessing, and this ain't no fly by the city of pants. You got to know. And if you know, then you just declare your nationality. It's just that simple. That's all there is. There's declaring and there's proclaiming. The one thing you must do is you have to be clear. You can't proclaim if you're unclear. You got a lot of charlatans out there. You got a lot of people that's trying to move you away from that linear descent line. I mean, look at all of this. I mean, to me, there's so much information that's just being dropped on us from everywhere that's telling you it's all about nationality. All right, well, what does nationality mean? What's your bloodline? What's your linear? What is your linear descent line? What body of land, culture, and custom are you tied to? All it's saying. What's your family? That's all it's saying. Now, you have to comprehend that there's only two families on planet Earth. I don't care what shade they come in. There's only two families. You got the Asiatic, which is the Moors, and you got the modern Europeans. There's no other species of humans on planet Earth, and I think it's real interesting because people get it twisted when you say there's only two species of humans. They don't know it's just one. Well, it's two species of humans. There's one human collectively, but it's two species. Just like you got several species of cats and several species, but you will never, ever, ever see a bobcat mating with a cheetah. They're two dogs, though. They're two cats. You will never see a wolf mating with, a Great Dane. But they two dogs. But I'm just saying this. I wanted to say that because of the conversation I had with the brother, and he felt like he didn't have a remedy because he was so very confused about what this nationalized. I don't really nationalized Moors. I didn't know it either because I wasn't sure what he was referring to. So I hope that helps people. Because look, this is about your bloodline, and you just need to be clear about it. And that's all there is to it. So with that, I will yield the floor once again. And if no one else has anything else that they would like to add.
Yes. I did want to add something on, but I don't want to take the conversation way off topic, so I'll just save that. But I definitely, I don't know if y'all don't have, if Kujo want to add something on, but I definitely want to hear from the people and just maybe,
Yeah. I can take some calls.
Oh,
it is. Do you have something you want to say?
Oh yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Miss. Yeah, what were you gonna add?
Nothing. I was gonna just take some calls.
No, Miss.
Oh.
No, I thought Miss said he wanted to add something. I don't know. Or he said he doesn't.
Yeah, no, I think we could just go in on that probably like next week or something. Because I don't know, it was something on my mind, but I don't like, it's off topic. So like I said, I'm open to hear from the people, callers, see what the people are asking.
All righty. All right. Well, if you have a question, if you have a question, comment, concern, you'd like to put it on the table, press 1 on your telephone dial, and we will begin taking callers. And I just lost it. He'll be back in a second. So, let's see. Caller, you're live on the air. Please state your appellation and Northwest Mexico.
Peace, family. This is RVBey, Northwestern Maxim. It's more of how's everyone? I've been listening to the show for quite some time, and I just wanted to make a comment tonight. I was on the show last week and Thursday show with the brothers, which I normally don't listen to the Thursday show, Sons of Allah, but I was going through the Holy Quran, Circle 7, where in chapter 15, where Jesus had to go and Prophet Jesus had to go and isolate. Well, I guess it was just some time in the wilderness, 40 days, to conquer his lower self, and it just kind of related to like a situation that I'm going through where I had to take some time off just to get some things together. And it was just, I didn't get to share that. I did try to get into the queue last week, Thursday, but I wasn't able to. So I just wanted to bring that point in and just get some feedback from the panel of when you going through challenges, and then sometimes you have to take some time off, just like Yeshua did. He was tempted 3 times, but he came out. He prevailed because he was able to go into his higher nature. He was able to come out of it. And then it speaks on how his friends found him. He was hungry. His friends found him and fed him. So I just wanted a little feedback. I know you normally, and this may be off topic for tonight. I'm just coming into the queue. I don't know what the topic of the class was about or the show was about. But I just wanted a little feedback on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
I would just say that there's nothing more to say than what you just said. Like, that's exactly what it is. That man himself has to go through his own trials and tribulations based on him walking the path that the ones before left. And everybody who walks the path, they're going to have their own, everybody's going to have their own 40 days and 40 nights or whatever in the wilderness to deal with their demons. It has nothing to do with anybody else but self. And either self is going to conquer the demons or self is going to realize that there's much work to do to know thyself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well put.
And when he came to the revelation of himself, he said straight up, like, my lower self is strong. So it wasn't no weak fight. It wasn't an easy task. You know what I mean? Like, he realized that in the midst of all of that he had to find higher strength or wisdom in his higher self to even defeat the lower self in those aspects. Because he didn't come out, after the 40 days and 40 nights like, oh, that was a piece of cake. Like, his statement was, damn, my lower self is strong, while he was going through that. So, I mean, I would say, yeah, but, I mean, you're right. It's really not too much to add on except for, I mean, you see the symbols in all of the Gnostic aspects, even down to, the Buddha with the eyes closed, reflecting what's inside of introspection, etc. So, I mean, until you go, I would say, I don't know from my experience, you would have to go through that period of isolation. And one of the most ancient lessons that I know of to reflect that is the butterfly in the cocoon, when you have to isolate yourself to make that transformation. And nobody's in that cocoon with you. You know what I mean? It's yours. And then you come out with wings ready to fly. Metaphysically speaking, that's growth. And there's always room for growth for ourselves, higher self, you know, for life. That's the perpetual thing, because I think what starts to block the growth is the vibration you're around and feeling like you reached your full potential. Like, this is it. I'm at the max. You know, when there's always room to grow, you don't let anything else in. So, you know, I don't know. You might have to do different things to study yourself as well. Mm-hmm. Just even dealing with the elements, all of these things. So, yeah, with that, I think I know it's necessary, you know. But then again, it's funny because in the midst of you doing that, people who are attracted won't understand your resistance. If you get, and not that you're trying to resist them, it's like, yo, you know, I know you might want to be getting familiar, but I'm getting familiar with you too, so I don't know what to say to you. You know, you can't push somebody to rush to make decisions when they're going through their growth spurt. Like, you have to at least respect that. And sometimes I find that, you know, if you're not focused in, like, it's more so outside things that can distract your vision or your focus or your drive. And those, you know, that's things you need to, you know, whether permanently or temporarily separate from, or you know, let people know what it is. And if they can't respect that, then they can't respect you. So for those purposes, I mean, there would be no respect if, you know, people are going through that. And I say it like this too, like, you know, when people have quote-unquote friends and they're working and they're punching the clock and they're going to college school and all of that, it's only so much you can expect from them as far as their time, their ability to give you attention and things like that. And likewise, when somebody is focusing on working on themselves, it's relatively the same thing. Like, you're focused, you're doing something, you know, going back to the fact that they say you could be still and do a lot, or you could be moving around doing nothing, and, you know, vice versa. So I don't know. That's just I think it's a necessary experience to allow you to grow. Because when you come out the cocoon and you start looking at people different, like, or seeing, you know, what situations really are, you know, and you might be seeing things different than what you did before, and people don't understand, you know, what's good, because you're growing. You know, you're not just a flower. You start bearing fruit. So, yeah, I mean, that's just a process of growth, natural. With that, I get the floor.
We're growing. And to add this on as well, that when you get out of the cocoon, it's also how people perceive you differently now. Because you're also going to be looked at different. Which is going to be, you know, another 40 days and 40 nights of, you know, trusting, are you really where you're supposed to be? Because, you know, if your family's against you with this, then this can't be right. You know, and also correlating with the cocoon, coming out of the cocoon with coming out of mummification and going into the spiritual existence out of the cocoon. Forget transformation on the earth plane, because when you make that transformation on the earth plane, you're also making a spiritual transformation. You know, when you realize you're not Negro, black, colored, you're more. That's an earth plane thing and a spiritual thing as well. You're going from a dead mental state to a living mental state when you make the transition from black to more. You're not just making a transition from, you know, papers, and then you're going to go through trials and tribulations. You're going to be dreaming and have trials and tribulations that you're going to have to conquer there.
That's true. That is true.
So take the 40 days and 40 nights not just as, him wrestling with his lower self and conquering his lower self, and now he's the King of Peace. There's 40 days and 40 nights that didn't make the Bible cut.
True, because there were more. He had more challenges after that time period as well. Yeah.
That they don't talk about.
Right.
What happened in those ones? What type of demons was he battling in the ones that they weren't talking about? Them 40 days and 40 nights.
Mm-hmm.
And if he conquered the lower self, where the lower self come back again, that he has to go back in 40 days, 40 nights again.
Right.
Was it really a underestimation about how strong the lower self was?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's quote unquote conquered, it's not supposed to rise again.
Right.
It's supposed to be yielded. No different than the Moors. The Moors are supposed to not be talked about anymore. This is not supposed to be happening, where people are finding out that they're Moors. Right? But and also too, do not remove yourself from the battle. Go into the headstrong, because the other side of the battle, there's something waiting there for you that you're only going to get once you go through these 40 days and 40 nights. You know what I mean? And what's at the other end is there waiting for you. All you have to do is get through the 40 days and 40 nights. The stuff just sitting there waiting for you. Nobody else is going to come get it. You know what I mean? Nobody can make a claim on it. Nobody can come steal it. It's yours. And you conquer those foes on that battlefield of 40 days, 40 nights, it's bigger than a trophy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I yield the floor.
Well, I said that that was sufficient answer for you, sister.
Yeah, that was good for yes, for now. Yeah, thank you.
All righty. Well, if you have another question, you can always press 1 again and come back in the queue.
All right.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
All righty.
Right.
Our next caller is caller 410-760. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation and Northwestern Mexico.
Islam, peaceful greetings, beloved family. I am Hassan Ghazio Bey at Northwestern Maxim. How's the family?
Islam.
I was going to not call in. I wasn't going to press 1 today is what I meant to say. But when it really spoke to me when the sister had brought up the 40 days and 40 nights and wrestling with the lower self. And from my perspective, from coming from not feeling I had like voids filled, coming from a family of generations of anger and stuff like that, it wasn't until I really stopped looking outside of myself and really started, really studying like the Prophet's literature after someone introduced it to me. And then instead of looking for all the time an outward interpretation or someone, giving me the interpretation of it, me really wanting to really know, who I am in the grand scheme of things, and just taking the bits and pieces of what I was reading from RVBey publications and getting into, as you said, Brother Miz, the Gnostic degree, so to speak, as far as, getting the full gnosis of who we are cosmologically, as well as, well, really that's it, that's all, because everything comes from, it's stemming from universal law and dealing with the knowledge of the zodiac. And what I actually realized is, for me, the 40 days and 40 nights was, symbolic. If you actually look at that, so to some that may be like a moon cycle in a few days, you know what I mean, going into another cycle. But also, days can be like years to us, when you're talking about progression, when you're talking about, like natal charts, and, every time there's a degree movement, it, ties into a year. But my point that I'm making is that what I really realized was the wrestling of lower self, or getting to, not submit to lower self, was more for my benefit and my salvation, so that I will learn how not to, for lack of better words, ameliorate my own interests. You know what I mean? Like, not really, kill myself, basically. Like, if there's all this intent to wanting to do right, so to speak, it really came from genuinely wanting to learn, you know what I mean? And that's when I found on that path of learning that there are parts of myself that I didn't like, but there was remedy to actually get acquainted with it, because they were things that were consistent with, challenging aspects in the sacred geometry, so to speak, of my chart. So it's almost like, instead of, in that whole 40 days, 40 nights thing, instead of, I guess, approaching it in a way like, oh, man, I got to do this, I got to get right, I got to be righteous and all that, it was more for me, it's like, okay, I don't know who I am. And in getting acquainted with that, that's when, you'll have your Jesus wept moment. You know what I mean? Because you're on the path of justice, but what happens along that path, there may come a moment when you're unto yourself, so to speak, and what happens is you have to tell the truth to yourself or continue to lie to yourself. And I think usually the conquering isn't something that's, oh, well, one and done, it's over. The conquering actually comes in the decision-making when the lower self wants to rear its head. you know what I'm saying? Like, there's kind of like okay, here's some temptation. You know what I mean? So with that temptation, am I going to do what I was normally conditioned to do, or am I going to really take what I have just grasped and learned and further studying the truth about my nationality and birthrights and what's in the prophets' literature and what's in the Quran, and now govern myself according to that instead of according to the lower self impulses. So I just wanted to say, like, I totally feel like just the energy where the sister was coming from, because when I read that part of the Heliotech about the wrestling of 40 days and 40 nights, as well as other literatures, I mean, my approach is usually, how do I see myself in it? Because, I don't want to necessarily, like, just get it so I can pontificate about it, because there was no real reward for self for that. There was no real growth. The actual growth actually came from looking at all of this as a reflection, especially after I heard repeatedly the family say that our business, man is mind, so mind's business is all about reflection. And I think that's really what that was, in my opinion. I gotta be corrected, but I think that's really what the 40 days and 40 nights of wrestling self is, because you have to reflect and you have to really realize, like, dude, is this who I really want to be or not? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like what it is. So that's just all I wanted to say, family. But that sister was giving off an energy more than what she was saying, and it just kind of spoke to me. I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like, so that's why I pressed one tonight. But I love you guys. Excellent broadcast. Islam, peace and love.
Islam. Yeah, and I think also what he was feeling from the sister too is, she was affirming when the prophet said, because Kujiko had said, well, look, and then after you do the 40 days and 40 nights, now you got to deal with 40 days and 40 nights of people trying to understand, well, who the heck are you? What are you going through and dealing with that? So that's why the prophet said, look, if you're the only one, just be the only one. Teaching you to be yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Indeed, Islam.
Islam.
All right, Islam.
Oh.
All right. Again, if anyone has a question, comment, or concern, please press 1 to your cell phone down, and we will take calls in the order we receive them. Let's see, our next caller. Okay, our next caller is caller 215-844. You're live on the air. Please take your affiliation. No question.
Islam?
Islam.
Well, Islam to everybody. This is Dr. Robin RVBey, and I'm here in North Mixon. And I want to give a shout out to everybody, but especially, of course, my sister RVBey. I met her with Brother Taj Tariq Khalid Bey here in Philadelphia. Her and Ms. Rahim at the York House. And I never got a chance to really follow through. I learned so much from you, Roz. I learned about you. Anna L, is she on the line with us?
Yes.
Oh, I learned so much about you, and and I'm waiting. I can't wait to meet you, Raj. You've been such a force in my life, and you don't even know it. I mean, you embraced me the day you met me, and you said that you knew me, that we took a class together, and I said no, I've never met you, but I believe that I was meant to to meet you so that you could teach me. And, the time that you were there, you made time for me, and you sat down, and you ministered to me. You said, so what do you again? You remember? I mean, all these people coming to you, and you doing the rise, and it was just so powerful. You opened up the word, and I'm a theologian, but a lot of people are of course, turned off from the Moors, and I'm not offended at all because that's who I am, and people don't want me in their pulpits and stuff like that because I'm not with that stuff that. And I didn't know it, guys. I didn't know anything about, church codes and things like that. In my spirit, I knew that was wrong. They were just wrong. Respectfully, they were just wrong. And when Sister Raj just said, I didn't know that, the noble duality said, when if you're the only one, be the only one. Yeah, I've been the only one for a long time. I really have. I'm the youngest of 8 children, 6 sisters, and my brother's transitioned, and I'm the youngest, and none of them are conscious, and I'm bringing this to them, in my family. I have 3 beautiful children, a husband of 36 years, and my husband is conscious, and but we're just now becoming conscious, but it's just I was conscious, and I didn't know I was conscious, and so I really came around. You know what I mean? So I came around you all, and Raj just she just infused me. She just you forced me. You was wait a minute. When you sat down, you asked my name. You said, and that's my name, because my name is Robin Rose Marie. And she was wait a minute, Bradley. Wait a minute, hold up. And she's like, girl, you can basically keep your name. It's just keeping it real with me, and just I just love you because you qualify things in me. you know, they were there, and you came and you bear witness to what I knew. I knew this, and nobody. I'm not hearing this. You know, nobody's living this, and then I come and I meet, you know, my brothers and sisters at the York House one day, and I could not stop weeping. I could not stop weeping when I came to know that, you know, that this is real. I'm hearing people speak my language. This is real. I mean, I was like out there by myself for years. This is real. This is real. Thank you, Yahshua. Thank you. This is real. This is really real. I heard nobody. I mean, like all up in the church, and I'm all, you know, going to school, got my doctorate in theology, and I'm not hearing anybody tell the truth. That's not what I'm seeing. How is it that I'm seeing something different than what you're saying? And then I question you respectfully, not being arrogant, but humbly. And you can't turn me an answer for why you believe the way you do. No. I thank you, Buzz. I thank you so much. I mean, I haven't, like, gone through everything, you guys, because, like, you know, been suffering with some things. I'm 56. I went through heart failure when I was 44. And so, you know, I've had my challenges, you know, Sister Anna L. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. But, and you were the one who opened up saying, you know, talking about nationality, right? Being okay. And so, you know, and I thank you for that because, like, you know, no, I haven't gone through the whole process, guys, of getting, you know, I did my status correction, you know, but I haven't, you know, done everything, you know, captured my birth certificate and all that yet. But I understand who I am, and I can stand my ground. I mean, and my studying, you know, I realize that, you know, I'm a researcher. I'm one who will sit down and apply myself, you know, study to show myself approved. So, I mean, you know, it was you, Roz, who just pushed me. You have no idea what you did. You know, I mean, I'm sure everybody has the same response about you, Roz. You know, you're so highly respected. You know, when you come in the room, you fill up the room. Your spirit absolutely fills up the room. You know, and I just, I'm the young lady who said I wanted to come up to 125th Street like every week from Philly and see y'all, but you know, finances like would not allow me to do that, and I am like really, it's in my heart to do to really come and sit, under you and Anna L's tutelage, Yeshua knows my heart. My heart of hearts. This is just who I am. This is what I desire. This is what I want more than silver and gold. This is the truth. I mean, the truth, to walk in the truth, to enlighten others, to bring others from out of darkness and into the marvelous light. That's just who I am. That's just who I am. When I first met Taj, Brother Taj, he was like, why do I know? Why do I feel like I know you? Every time I see you, there's just, he said, you kind of like, he said, you remind me of my first wife, but wait a minute, I'm a psychic, and I see, things. I see, auras and, colors and death and things like that. And I'm like, okay. So other times, what do you see? He's like, I just see this aura around you. Who are you? Who are you? You guys are just nothing short of amazing, and I look forward to this journey, that we have, and I can't wait to meet, you, Sister Anna L, and you, Brother Cujo. I heard a lot about you too, so thank you guys. Thank you.
I remember meeting you now, and I remember you and your husband, and he did come at another time I don't know. I think I gave him some information for you or whatever. I don't know if I heard from you, but you did. I remember you had the theologian degree, and we may be, if there's a class this week at the York House. I couldn't intend to be there. Possibly we could be there, but yeah, I think I gave information for your husband for you to be able to get in touch. But I want to say this. You've always said that if you're the only one, be the only one. And I just want to comment on this, give you this end of this providence, and not the whole thing, but something you said made me say that. And it said, it says, I cried out. Anyone who hears, rise up from your deep sleep. And the sleeping one awoke and wept, wiping bitter tears from their eyes, saying, who is it that called me? Where has my hope come from? As I lie in the depths of this prison. And the providence of pure light replied, I am the thought of the Virgin Spirit, raising you up to an honored place. Rise up. Remember what you have heard and trace back your roots to me, the merciful one. Guard against the poverty demons. Guard against the chaos demons. Guard against all who would bind you. Awaken and stay awake. Rise out of the depths of the underworld. And then he says, I raised him up. In your case, I raised her, but you would put yourself in there. I sealed her with the light water of the 5 seals. Death had no power over you ever again. So I now ascend again to the perfect realm, and I have completed everything, and you have heard it all. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I trust we'll see you again.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I can't say nothing.
That's from the Apocryphon of John. Get the Apocryphon of John and read that. That's in there.
Okay.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you.
All right.
Wow.
That was a beautiful testimony.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was a beautiful testimony. Yeah.
It certainly wasn't.
I have to find another word. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not testimony.
Yeah, I have to find another word. I just realized what I said. But
yes, indeed. Not testimony.
We don't.
But
we don't.
It certainly wasn't slander, that's for sure, like most people
No, it was not.
What we try to do. Yeah.
We don't have any more people with their hands up questions. And, here we go. I know who this is. My brother Asam. How you doing tonight?
I was thinking about him.
Islam, family. This is RVBey, Northwest Alexa. Yes, peace and love to Annie Eid, Razamai, Ms. Raim, and Brother Cujo. Great show. Listen, all praise due to Allah. Listen, we just added another one to the family. 907, 8 pounds, 14 ounces, another soldier.
Oh, wow. Islam. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
indeed. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Wow. Woo. That was
almost 9 pounds. But, I wanted to, like chapter 1 and chapter 15 are like two of my favorite chapters of the Circle 7, because this was something, when you read it all the way to the end, where at the end it said Jesus left the wilderness and in the consciousness of the holy breath. He came into John's camp. We know that's the harbinger. He came into the camps of John and taught, and like some people, they get, they become conscious, they get this here, they get this here energy because they waking up, and they no more. They no longer that fabrication. They no longer that mirror. They no longer that other thing. They real now. They feel real, and they want to go out and they want to teach and they want to open temples and they want to do this here and do that, without going through that true exorcist that you always talk about, Roz. And you're going to get tested. We used to say all the time, in another school of thought, we used to say all the time, who are you to think that it was greater men that came before you. Who are you to think that you will not be tampered with, or tried.
Or tested. Tested, right, tested. What? It's funny you say that because I remember, Rob, didn't I say, I think this woman in this movie, I said to Roz, I think the latter part of last week, I said, we look at modern Europeans and really I think sometimes we look at them in the wrong light.
That's right.
They're doing their job. Their job is to make sure that we are competent to handle this vast estate. That's their job, and they are doing it. And so, in order for us to, this is a vast estate. You can't be wishy-washy if you're going to be taking on that obligation. You have to be on top of everything. You can't let nothing slip because it's supposed to be. It's not necessarily for us today, but it is for the young and the yet unborn. And so we have to be competent, like, to be able to, fix what needs to be fixed and recognize when something needs to be fixed and make sure and, to do the proper preparation so that everything that the next generation needs will be here for them either to use or for them to continue the cultivation. So modern Europeans, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. So we are the ones that need, we're the ones that need to get on our study on, know the law, and, just like the prophet said, you're going to have some people come in and try and trick you. Okay, well, how do you prevent that from happening? Study. That's it.
Study. Because
and cleanse yourself.
Say that again?
And cleanse yourself. Because it was three temptations there. One, it was to give you the world, to give you fame and give you fortune. He said, no, you can keep that. I'm not doing this here thing for those things. I ain't coming to the people and to say, my people, to get fame and fortune. We seen that happen with the sellouts. You know what I'm saying? So, he said, keep those things to that temper. I'm not with that. I got to cleanse myself. See, because like these same yet unborn and these young with their eyes wide open, when you talk to them, they can see right through you.
Yes.
And if you got shit in your closet, they listen, game, no game, and they know it. So look, you got to clean up your act when you come in with them with the truth.
That's right. Marvelous light.
So you got to go through this thing and clear that thing up. What you in this thing for? Look, let me give you a few $1,000. Yeah, go sell out the people. No, I ain't with that. Get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the temper, And then the temper said, look forth upon the world. Behold, its honors and its fame. Behold his pleasures and his wealth. If you will give your life for these, they shall be yours. He said, no, I'm not doing it for that. But Jesus, get away from me with that. So, that's a beautiful one. So when she hit that energy, that was dear to me, because when I was going through my exes, when I was like, look, clear this thing up with yourself, man. Get, so it was beautiful. And then all those that want to open temples and open up organizations and stuff, then teach. Then you can teach because, listen, the Harbinger, and the people that was in that camp, they going to come at you. They going to come at you. And if you ain't ready and you ain't clean and you ain't got a pure heart, then you got a problem. You stuttering. You ask the question and now you stuttering. So, Islam. Islam.
Yeah, man. And tying that in too, it's like, look, you make me lie down in these green pastures and I'm walking. Although I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Shadow of death. I
shall feel no evil, right? So we got to remember that. Absolutely remember that. That this is the trial and tribulation, and you just said it. Okay, all right, the first one is fame and fortune. Okay, you want to take that? No, I'm not telling them people. Now, what do we have? This will keep repeating itself if you don't learn those lessons. So, like even today, we're looking at all the sellouts, and you know what? It's old news. We might not have been conscious of it for real. Like, I heard about the sellouts. No, it's real. You know what I'm saying? And today people are just being exposed. Just totally exposed. And so you got to let that happen because remember we said before the scimitar from the pendulum is coming back. So now everybody's ugly heads is raising just to make sure that when that scimitar come back, you raise your ugly head with that sellout stuff, boom, it's going to get cut off. That's it.
So Islam.
Islam, brother. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You didn't say was it a boy?
Young soldier.
Oh yeah, you said young soldier. You said 8 pounds.
8'14".
Oh, wow.
8'14", and born at 709. Got a 7 and a 9.
When was he born?
When the show came on, 709.
Oh, today?
Today. Today when the show came on.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. So we wanted to share that with the family, and then they hit chapter 15, which one of my favorites. Going in that wilderness and tussling with yourself. Because you find a whole lot of things when you really get sincere. You find a whole lot of things you didn't like about yourself. And you just had to deal with them.
Reflection.
And that self-reflection. And one of the things that I did was I was reading a book, and it was talking about, when you're doing self-reflection, go to some of the people that you hold dear and that you feel that you can trust and ask them what do they think about you, that known you. So I went to my children since we have so many of them. And one of my children told me, this is what one of my children told me. He said, Dad, I hated you when I was growing up. And I had to look at that, and where my head was at, I didn't feel no kind of way because I had to thank him for being honest and true to me because I wanted the truth about myself. Because, back then, I was sort of like a little rough dad with him, because I had 5 sons, and then the daughters, but, I was a rough dad with the older ones, and the younger ones used to tell me, said, Dad, you getting soft. I mean, the older ones used to tell me about the younger ones. They said, Dad, you getting soft.
My children said the same thing. Said the same thing. Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm that I've gotten to a place where they all grown, and I don't have to, watch over them. Make sure they don't kill their food self.
That's right. That's right. But you know, the children don't come with no pamphlet and all that. You know, and you do what you know.
Well,
for the best of them
sure right. But I'll tell you one thing. If you read chapter 23, now they still don't, right. But there's a guide now. That chapter 23 of the Circle 7 Holy Quran, man, that locks it out. They let you know who you are, and you know that you should be on. You know, this is interesting. Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Yeah, consider that
the child has been born today. Listen. Since you had a child born today, we dedicate this to you already know, but to all those. Chapter 23 of the Circle 7 Holy Quran tells you what the duties are. It says, consider thy are the parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, or a useful or worthless member to the community. Prepare him early with instruction, and season his mind with the maxims of truth. There you go. Underline that. Maxims of truth. And we all know we've been lying to our children over these generations because we didn't have the truth to give. Watch the bent of his inclinations. Set him right in his youth, and let no evil habit gain strength with his years. So shall he rise like a cedar on the mountains. His head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. A wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own, let it not more cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shall thou reap. Teach him. Now, right here is where the astrology comes in. You know that. Teach him obedience, and he shall blaspheme. Teach him modesty, Taurus, and he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude, Geminis, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, Cancers, and he shall gain love. Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. That's actually for Leo. And teach him temperance, and he shall have health, Virgo. Teach him justice, Libra, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, Scorpios, and his own heart shall not reproach him. And I just got to say, name revenge.
Praise be to Allah.
Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. Sag, teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase, Capricorn. Teach him science, Aquarius, and his life shall be useful. And teach him religion, Pisces. That's the beginning and the end. And his death shall be happy. So
that's right.
Now, and you go to, let me just say this, and you go to all the ancient writings that talk to the spirit. You go to Khalil Gibran, and you read what he says about the children. The arrow. He said, look, these children aren't yours. They come through you, but they belong not to you. So you have a responsibility, right? That's right.
That's right.
And though he loves the bow, which is you, right, he also loves the arrow, which is the child.
Praise
so we dedicate that to the newborn. We dedicate that to your newborn grandson today.
Oh, wow. And thank you. And I want to say for the callers, now that same son, well, you know them, Miles. You know, they the ones that come to the class. So, not Cameo, but the Tamir. They always telling me they can't love me enough. They just thanks for the obedience and the things like that. You know,
they don't hate you no more.
They don't hate me no more. You know, they love you, they hate you, then they love you again. You know, but like this is the law, so it's our duty to teach our children the law and then teach them a trade. You know, and then they good for life. They good for life. But yeah, thank you, family. Cujo, great job. Keep up the good work. Ms., that man is 29. Great work, man. I want to get with you sometime in the near future about setting something up. But terrific work. And as always, mothers, you know, you guys always giving y'all time. And I always say when a man or woman gives her their time, they can give no greater gift. And y'all guys just freely do it day in and day out, week in and week out. We love you for that.
It's
so I'm going to yield the floor.
Hey, check your text message because I realize now why you ain't texting back yet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Y'all been birthing this child all day.
and not only that, I'm a iPhoner and an iPad and an iMac, and something is going on. Because it's Asim Shafiq Ali Bey, and I always have, like, when I go through, look up names, I see that name in Persia, I see that name in India, I see that name everywhere. And I'm saying that to say that since these incidents last week, I'm having these problems with my iPhone asking for verifications and stuff like that. I know it's been an update and stuff, but it's deeper than all that. So I'm going to get it fixed, though. But, we was busy dealing with that situation. So, thank you, Islam.
All righty, peace and love.
And I yield the floor. Peace and love, family.
All righty.
Peace. Love.
All righty. All right. Once again, we got one more caller and no one else with their hand up. If you have a question, comment, or concern, press 1 on your telephone dial, and we will take your call. And I guess if we don't have any more calls after that, we'll just end the broadcast. So, caller 214-565, you're live on the air. Please state your application at Northwest Semester.
Islam, family.
Islam.
This is Brother Abdul Malik Shakur Bey. I'm calling from Northwest Amexton, the Texas Republic Territory. Once again, family, it is good to be in the house with my kindred. I'd like to give a shout out to Annael, to you, Rosmara Bey, Mizrael, Cujo, and to all the Moors and Moabites who participate not only online but putting the work out. And to the brothers that got to speaking, I would like to say happy birthday to the Moabites. And to the baby, welcome, coming to this plane. I would just like this. It's right after you, and I was looking at that, and that was right on time. It moved my spirit right up under what you just got to. The obedience of children toward their father. From the secrets of Allah, let man learn wisdom and apply himself the instruction they give. Go to the desert, my son. Observe the young stock of the wilderness. Let him speak to thy heart. Bird on his wing, his age Sarah. He lodged him in safety and supplied him with food. The pity of a child is sweeter than the incense of Persia, offering to the sun. Yea, more delicious than odors wafted from a field of Arabian spices of the western gals. Be grateful to thy father, for he gave thee life, and to thy mother, for she sustaineth thee. Hear the words of his mouth, for they are spoken for thy good. Give ear to his admonition, for it proceeded from love. He had watched for thy welfare. He had toiled for thy ease. Do honor honor, therefore, to his age, and let not his gray hair be treated with irreverence. Forget not thy helpless infancy, nor the forwardness of thy youth, and endure thy infirmities of thy age, parents. Assist and support them in the decline of life. So shall their hairy heads go down to the grave in peace, and thy own children, in reverence of thy example, shall repay thy piety with filial love. Islam, I say to that. And to the discussion of the Moors and the Moabites in northwest of Mexico, we know we have to study and apply what we have studied. And most of all, before you take any step, as a baby waving through the air 1 feet after the other, make sure you have studied yourself and know yourself. And this is the true record. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nations of America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. For history, this is the true record, and the true record shall report the truth. The Egyptians, who were the Hamites, and of the direct descendants of Mizraim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan, the Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslim. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad the first, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God, Allah. If my people, which are called by my name, would humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways, then Allah will hear. And where we hear, the nearest place you can find Allah is in the heart. Islamism. I relieve the flow.
All right, Islam. All right. Well, we got 2 more callers.
All right.
Caller 985-276. You are live on the air. Please state your address, Northwest Mexico.
Islam. This is our brother Azad RVBey. Whoa. Yeah. Once I said that, I kind of got a drain in my head. I got lightheaded just now. I don't know what that was. Wow, that's crazy. That is real crazy. But I just wanted to speak to the thing that you all were talking in the beginning of the call about the nationality, the Real ID Act. I was researching that and looking at something, and I just kind of wanted to bring this to the attention. I don't know if anybody's really looked into it, but they have changed their rhetoric on how they're going about it. They're going from dealing with nationality to talking about that people can now use their driver license to travel inside of the so-called United States. But when you go international, you have to use something else. So I don't know if anybody researched into that or. But
well, that's.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, go ahead. But that's what they've always been doing. The key is that the driver's license instrument is not recognized as a national or international document and cannot be used as identification anywhere. So for them, outside of that, or to fly with. So all they're saying is, hey, listen, people, I just want y'all to know y'all still got to use it in the state. And this is where we need to rise up and say, hell no, it's not an identification. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But if that offer is made, they ain't changing anything. They're still trying to hold on. And the people who agree to it, they're making an offer to see if people will agree to it. So what the people need to say is, well, there. If it's not good outside of here, it's not national. It's not a national ID. It's what, and then they need to realize that it is what it is. It's an instrument from the Department of Transportation used for the driver's program. But what they're trying to say is, oh no, if we could get y'all to continue to think that it's an ID, that would be great. So it's an offer.
Also, what they had intended, because the Real ID Act came out a while ago, right? Now, when they first came out, the intent was that the driving instrument can also be used as a passport. But a whole lot of problems came up behind that, and as a result, it was realized that the instrument that people have to drive was unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And they had many departments of motor vehicles, which, the states they're allowed to participate. So they got huge programs, computers, software. Now, they done spent vast amounts of funding to set up this program that has come, once they put out the Real ID Act, it came to light that their stuff is unacceptable. And that's why they later on came out and they said, we're not accepting the driver's license as a form of identification when you go to the airport center. Because they were not correct to begin with. So the whole Real ID Act opened up a can of worms. And also, in addition to that, people who were being stopped at the airport because they refused to produce identification, some of them sued.
Yep.
And won. And then I think they had one of their own representatives from one of these union states who went on a huge campaign, let it be known that he will not be, producing no identification to travel. And rightly so, because if more people would look at the whole Real ID Act, really, the people are never obligated to identify. Public servants are. Also, the people are never the ones that are obligated to have a passport in order to travel. That obligation is for the ship, not the people. And if more people read the definition of passport, driver, license, traffic, travel, right in the Black Book Fourth Edition Dictionary, right in there, it lets you know you as a flesh and blood being, not a public servant, you're not obligated to have any of that. And that's why the states are having a problem with their driver's license. Because if you look on the passport, the passport listing people's nationality as USA. USA is not a nationality. But when you look at the corporation, all right, so the entity that is obligated to have the passport is the ship. So when you look at the ship, and the ship has a national origin, national origin of the ship as USA, now you know that ship belongs to the corporate construct known as the USA, which is an acronym for the United States of America. But that can't be applied, nor can it be imposed on people. But if the people don't study, this is something else I want to also mention. Has anybody, now look at, this is just a little bit of food for thought. It's something that I'm going to be doing, but everybody should do this. Has anybody ever looked into who is administering the passport program?
No.
Who is administering? Because if you look into the infrastructure of the United States of America, number one, the United States of America only has executive power. And they have created agencies that they then contract out to private corporations to administer. So the question that people need to look at and look into is who is administering the passport program and what area of the government do they fall under. Now remember, the executive branch cannot write law.
Right. So they're making offers and hoping that the people will just accept them.
That's right. Now, people say, well, the passport program is handled by Homeland Security. Has anybody investigated Homeland Security? Because last I checked, they're private corporations, and I believe they were established somewhere around 2002. That's very recent. And if they were established and they were contracted by the USA, one of the USA agencies, what agency is that, and where is the delegation of authority that says this is what they can do? I'm going to tell you right now, the delegation of authority is in one of their, what do you call it? If you look in the congressional record, you'll find the act, and you'll find where they delegated whatever to the agency that administers the program, the passport program, whether that is Homeland Security or some other private contract. So, what this is telling us is, once again, to see what they put out, like if you Google the Real ID Act, are you looking at the public publication, or are you looking at the congressional record recording? Right? Just like with Social Security, a lot of people go to the Social Security Administration website to get their information. Mm-mm. You want to go to the congressional records and look at the Social Security Act of, I think it's 1938, either 33 or 38, between there. You want to read that, because that is where the Social Security Administration Corporation gets their direction from. They're not going to give you that on your website. They're going to tell you what they feel they can and cannot going to tell you what the Social Security Act says they can and cannot do. Same thing with the passport program. This is why the prophet said we got to study, because if we did the appropriate studying, I'm going to tell you right now, right in the statutes that they're writing, they tell you exactly who they apply to, but we don't never read that stuff. We depend on other people to tell us. And 9 times out of 10, the other people is the contracting corporation. Why would they tell you what they can't do? They're in the business of providing a service, and their objective is to make sure that it appears providing a service, when in actuality they're compelling people under threat, duress, and coercion. Mm-hmm. And guess what? There's a remedy for that. There is. You just gotta research it. Look in there and go and look it up. We have to look these things up, because nobody's going to come and tell us. Because everybody, well, when you really sit back and look at this whole setup on this Moroccan land soil that they call America, when you look at the whole setup, none of these corporations have applied to us. Not one of them. All of them are contracted by the state or the Fed to administer some program. And as long as they make sure that they demonstrate that there is a need for that program, come hell or high water, they're going to make sure that there is an appearance that program is needed, so they can continue to get those federal dollars.
So they're making false reports, is what you're saying, and the people don't even know.
False reports, false claims, everything is false, because they don't provide a product and they don't provide a service.
Right. And so when we looked at see who that's for, we would find by looking by that, like with the brother, like you're saying, they made up whatever and said whatever it can be used. Well, that's some sort of administrative policy or statute, and if you really look at it, it'll clearly define that it's not meant for natural people in the first place.
That's right.
Because they know and that's the remedy.
Right. And let me just say, brother, I know.
No, it was me. I was moving the trash can. No, that was me moving the trash can. I had to.
Well, that's all right. But let me just say this: when the Real ID Act first came out, somebody had called in. I think it was maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know. Time flies so fast. But we did a whole broadcast on the Real ID Act, and we analyzed it. We emailed it out to everybody that we had on email, and it wasn't on email at the time, and you wanted a copy. You just sent the email to MHHS Eyes Wide Open and requesting that, and we sent it. But we analyzed it, we went through it, and then a sister called in, and she found in the actual act where it stated, and I can't remember the language, but it was so absolutely clear. It said that it does not apply to the natural people at all. I mean, it was you didn't even need to try and go look up words and try and figure it out. It was that clear.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but they know we're not going to look up anything, so therefore they're going to say, well, we had a little conversation. And so, and as he's saying, but you can still use it in the States. Well, that's what they're saying. For that applies for them and those who are members, citizens, whatever of that, and those who agree that don't know and haven't read that it's not meant for natural people. So if you say you're not a person, then the state can say anything they want. It doesn't apply to you. And the administrative statute, like you're saying, if upon reading it, it says it doesn't apply to us, but they know we're not going to read. And so therefore, they're going to tell us anything so that they can continue to do what? Make finance, generate finance. And so for all of those who fall for that, no problem.
Absolutely. And it's like this, too. Like, at the beginning and end of the day, those corporations have no jurisdiction, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember last Sunday y'all were going in on Sister Standing on Law, and you mentioned the Tower card, man. You definitely mentioned the Tower card and tarot and things like that. And I'm looking at this like we're looking at a something that was built that is literally falling apart. Like, I know people not talking about it as much, but honestly, like, it is literally falling apart daily right now. Like, literally daily, that U.S.A. corporation and the people who have been involved are backing out. And, you know, other energies are open, etc. Now, for me personally, and I don't know, I do trust the jour in the natural law, you know what I mean, the law of the land. But at this point, I think you got to be somewhat sick to have faith in this corporate institution that's called U.S.A. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm not trying to be funny or anything like that, quote-unquote extremist or any of that. But I do believe you have to be somewhat mentally ill to believe or have faith in that so-called system. And the reason I say that is because they are doing things daily that are blatant, like beyond the driver's license, beyond all of that. They are blatantly disrespecting the law of nature. Like, it's sad, you know what I mean? Because when we step out in the world, things are going to be changing. Like, example, just today, now people have been fighting all different types of cases for a long time, for a very long time. And it's like, you know, they act like certain constitutional rights don't apply and all of these things. And then there's, of course, victory stories. Don't get it twisted. But anytime they can, quote-unquote, pass a law, quote-unquote, or a statute, because that's what they're dealing with. They're dealing with color of law, not natural law or anything like that. We know what they're obligated to, but what they are doing, what they're saying to the world by the different, quote-unquote, judgments that they're making is a blatant disrespect if you can see through the, quote, judgment to the law of nature. And I mean that just today, they somebody it was, I think they were a high schooler, as a matter of fact, sued the school district or something like that because they're in high school and were transgender. So anytime that they're making a rules about those who try to change their anatomy to fit into another gender role is a blatant disrespect for the law of nature. Like, whoever could do that or sanction that that's okay is blatantly telling you they don't have any respect for the law of nature, not people's feelings or how they feel, and they feel like they men and they're women or male females who psychologically feel different ways about their anatomy. Whatever they can go against that basic grain, that's a total, you know what I mean, flip of the bird to the law of nature, to birthrights, to not being accepting of what your mother made you to be, right? So they're passing all of these laws for that, for those people in those mind states, which I'm not attacking them. I'm just saying that in law it goes against the grain of everything. Nature's God, nature's law. We could even break that down to us being natural people versus artificial people. So, I mean, one thing that will forever remain the same is that, you know, or eventually come to an end is the fact that they're not dealing with a lot of issues that deal with natural people. They're dealing with a lot of issues that deal with, quote, corporate interests. They are more or less involved with. So I say that to say that there is no jurisdiction that they have. They have no right words specifically when it comes to a people identifying themselves in their territory or their land or their connection to it, i.e. going back to what you said about the Pope earlier, the aboriginal indigenous people have the last say when it comes to affairs of their land.
That's
so
right. I mean, that driver's license too.
Right.
Right.
And in law, you're talking territorial jurisdiction. Moors need to make those connections. People need to know that. So if the power is in the people, and when it says that, you know, this is not just on the quote-unquote transgender case law they came up with about bathrooms and all of that, because I know, I mean, I don't have any children, but I know there's certain brothers who would not feel comfortable with their daughters going into the bathroom with, quote, transsexual people. Like, I know that's a fact. We ain't even got to have that discussion. But at the end of the day, power being in the people or the law, or the people being the law and the nationality being the key to that, it's international law that whenever any alleged form of government becomes abusive, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. Now, that's big responsibility for the people. So, I mean, I don't understand the aspect of, you know, actually being subject to what is public servant, personal opinion, basically, or personal will outside of the public law or private international law, however you want to look at that, is more paramount than the people that they allegedly are governing. How, like, with the, I truly believe that, and not even off of feelings, just off the facts of law, that the people themselves are going to have to make the difference as far as anything goes with law. Real ID Act, you know, quote, driver's license, you know, those are not identifications. As we all know, it doesn't have your nationality on it or any of these things. They don't even spell your proper appellation correct, grammatically correct. So it's just like a disrespect on all levels. But then again, when you look up license, it tells you that it's not a right. It's not a vested right, nor is it a property right. So it's never really yours anyway in that fashion. Like, according to the definition of license, is a permission. So that has nothing to do with identity. It's not a real identity, you know, because no matter what license you get, it never is your identity. Whether you get a license to practice law,
exactly.
Yeah, right. Whether you have a license to practice law, a permit to build, you know what I mean? Commercial license. That's never really you. That is a license. It's nothing more or less than that. So I'm saying that to say that in conjunction with the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, in conjunction with what the Pope said, people have the right to self-identify. Now, if anybody is blocking that, thus therein is your open adversary. Nothing more, nothing less. That's just the bottom line. If they're intentionally and blatantly infringing on your rights. You know, so, I mean, different statutes and colors of law apply for different people. That's not for everybody. Like, certain things are not for everybody, and there's always exceptions to the quote-unquote rule. And I just rest on that fact that anytime a quote unquote government is blatantly going against natural law, that that I personally don't see how you can have faith in that. You know what I mean? Like, how? Why though? Like, why? When on top of all of that, if they're abusive, you have the right to alter or abolish it. So why let it remain the same if you can quote alter or abolish that tyrannical aspect of your free will, as long as you're not infringing on anybody else? So I don't know what that comes down to. Is it might? Is it fight? Is it flight? Whatever you want to do with that, it is what it is. But again, I say, the old maxim, more power to the people. You feel me? And with that being said, I yield the floor. Islam.
Right, Islam. Islam, brother,
Yeah.
thank you so much for the call regarding the idea.
So our point does. Go ahead.
Oops.
Before y'all, because I know you had other callers.
No, you go ahead.
The point of me asking the question is more or less because, like I said, I like the input, and also, like I said, when you're studying, you get another viewpoint. So at the end of the day, what was being said is that they're retracting a lot of the things that they, like when it first came out, how they are going about it, saying they're changing their words on how, and they're doing it slowly but surely because every so-called state is some are on board and some are kind of dragging their feet. So instead of it having to be done by the end of this year, they're saying, well, maybe by the end of 2018, and they keep doing it over and over because they're dragging their feet.
Why though? Because they know that it's over once it's done, and it's already over anyway, and they can't submit to the truth of it in law because they will really be shot dead in the water. That is the license instrument is the biggest revenue generator they have. Once the people realize that it is a license instrument for those who are driving, meaning being compensated, they will realize that it is not an ID because it failed. If we're talking about the ID Act and the damn driver's license instrument everybody thought was an ID, they're finding out it's not an ID. So now it's like, well, what else is it not? You know what I'm saying? And they know that once that happens, they're done. They're really already done. But in the meantime, if the people would wake up and start acting accordingly, which they are, it also kills it. So they are, you say they keep dragging their feet because you see they don't want it to go down. Like, give us some more time to figure this out. No, give us some more time to see if we can get some more people who think that this is an ID and that they are a citizen of us. Because the more and more people who are realizing that they're not, we're losing finances. Please give us more time. Think about it. Why would they be dragging their feet? Why is this a difficulty? Because what they have is not an identification card. And now, even if they decided to create some new, like for instance, where's the nationality? USA. Bullcrap. People know that's not a nationality.
Right.
Give us some time. Let us think of something else that maybe the people will accept.
Yeah. And it's like for those who still believe in that quote unquote institution, like it's relating it back to the tower card. It's like people are hanging on to the windowsill on the outside of a collapsing building to get back into a building that's is falling anyway. So you might as well let go and take your chances with the trampoline at the bottom because that's that institution is done. It's falling apart daily. So I say shit, let it fall. I mean,
Let it fall.
Let it fall. Let it fall.
But I think the more interesting part, too, is that they're just, like I said, it's real. They're just trying to see how many people are going to actually still be hanging on and waiting for them to save them. Like, how many more people can we get to believe in our bull crap? Oh, man, we're losing numbers.
Yeah, and the only ones that are trying to defend it or help it from not falling are the Stevens and Stephanies. Remember?
That's why they're out so hard.
They're out so hard right now. You know, and they swear something's going to happen to you. Like, and you know, just to take a scenario or analogy, when Django ran down back on the plantation and got rid of Steven, you know, he was hollering all types of things. Wicked things was going to happen to Django. Oh, they're going to find you and lynch you and hang you and all of that. Meanwhile, he's dying in the burning building. So, I mean, you know, for those who have faith in it, I mean, that's their faith. To them, their faith. You know, like we said, some are still, I mean, Moriscos, because they believe in the Christian structure. They did not give Christianity back to the Europeans, the pale-skinned nations of Europe, and therefore they still regulated by quote-unquote black codes. They thought that ended in 1724, or, you know, things were no. They still moving on that code, on those different codes, you know, and we could see the ramifications today. We could definitely see the ramifications today, and you know,
bring up something else too. Think about this for a minute too, brother. Look, they're talking about this instrument that once we really do the studies on it, it's not just, you know, because, I mean, it's not an ID. It's not an ID. It's a driver's license instrument for those who are driving. So once the people really start getting into that, which they are, and finding out, as Annie said, it's a program from the federal government for those who are driving. Driver means you are behind the wheel for the purpose of compensation only, and everything that supports it, you know, the USC Title 49 that supports that is that program said so right in the very beginning. Everything of this case laws that say that, and there's all kinds of things that support the fact of the distinction. So now while they're still trying to petty ante around the fact of what that really is and really is not, right? And in the Maxims of Truth, we see what it really is, right? You got other things going on, like, and we'll probably have to do this in another class, like the headline where Trump goes over to Saudi Arabia and they say, come over here, boy, let me show you something. And show him the Islam wall and probably give him a little history. What does he do? What's the headline? The other people who thought that he was their savior, modern Europeans, they're like, oh, my gosh, he's been neutered. That's what the headline says, because he said Islam is one of the greatest faiths. Well, wait a minute. Their whole mission is against it. So for him to be saying that, now there's a lot of chaos that's getting ready to go on. I'm telling you, we already been warned about this. But so what is the most important thing? You know what I'm saying? If we're natural people, we hold on to our natural rights, and we have the natural right to liberty to movement. So the license instrument is going to be a thing of, you know, it's going to be done. So there's all the bigger problems coming down the line, you know. And what we're going to be left with, which I mentioned earlier, is people that still going to put on them suits, still going to get in them vehicles they got with the 5-pointer star they had no business having on there. It's calling themselves sheriffs and stuff, and they still going to come because they're gangs. That could be a problem. However, it won't, because they're going to be in the streets fighting themselves first. And that's why let's remind ourselves again of what position we must take while these wheels of their stuff stop and come to a complete halt, which is what is about to happen. And then it'll be in the hands of the natural people. And we'll be doing what?
Yeah.
You know, people say, well, what are we going to do? We're going to live like the Amish? What are we, so-called Amish? Well, it's going to be in your hands, so you're going to start being natural again. That's what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I like to add is the book the Anna Eve. I'm so glad that I got that book, personal property.
Yeah.
That book is so wonderful. Like I said, that when there's a part in there in the beginning where it was talking about me, as you just said it, about abolishing or it's in the Declaration. Which she in her writing, in the book, it made you go to the Declaration of Independence. And in the Declaration of Independence, if the people will wake up, they will understand that they are the ones who have the power, but they sit back and they keep waiting for so-called government to tell them what to do. You got to do this, you got to do that, instead of them saying, well, hold up. If this government is not working for me, I have the right to abolish or to alter that government. And if they wake up, it's ball game. It's ball game.
That's the point.
But here's the key: they're not even government, though. Now we'll find out. Damn, they're not even government.
Right.
Right. So what we need to be looking at is what true government is, as you said, which is the people. So we have to be in our proper person. That is where we have rights, unalienable, inalienable, and any government entity that would be established is established for the reason of preserving those rights. So this is what's being recognized, that they're not even covered.
And depending on what society or institution you consent or give consent to govern, you're basically in that jurisdiction. For example, like NBA and NFL players and all of this, like, if besides public, like, violations, if they do anything out of order, like the NBA holds court with them. You understand? Like, they are holding trial with them. They're saying this is what you can and cannot do. This is what we don't want. This is your punishment, your penalties. You feel me? They have basically court amongst themselves or judicial proceedings for that particular institution or society that only those who are in that or signed to that brand are subject to. Nobody else is subject to the NBA rules. So through their consent, through their contractual agreement, they have to follow those rules. And if they don't, they're subject to the, penalties of that organization, if you will, or corporation, if you will, through their consent, though. Because outside of that, like you see different NBA, NFL players, they might smoke weed and then they fail the quote-unquote drug test or whatnot, and there's ramifications to that. That is held through that institution, not through a so-called court, whether it be municipal, federal, any of that. All of the punishments and penalties are in-house, so they could get fined $40,000, $50,000 for something that we see as stupid or ridiculous. But since they consented to that arrangement, this is, how they have the jurisdiction to impose penalties on them for things that they do, being as though they represent that brand or that league or subject to the jurisdiction thereof through contract. So I just wanted to point that out as well. That's the thing. Issue with that.
The caller that was involved in the discussion, he dropped. We got like seconds before the line goes down. Just want to let everyone.
I'm a college athlete, but you don't know where I was born, if I was raised in the city or suburbs. You don't know the color of my skin, whether I'm big or small, who I love, or if I'm rich